The NFL draft is finally over, and we have where the prospects landed, and we got some of the biggest fantasy winners and losers coming at you right now. Now let's start with the winners, man. I love this landing spot for Trey Benson going to the Arizona Cardinals, backing up James Conner. This is clearly a pick for the future, and Trey Benson is such an elite talent, man. This dude is a big body back that can catch passes out of the backfield. Play style and pro comp I gave basically to Breece Hall and a mixture of Joe Mixon. This guy is an elite runner in open space, man. He could take it to the house, constantly keeping the legs moving, and a similar play type to James Conner a little bit as well, who's on a contract year. So this is definitely a great spot where we can see Trey Benson sprinkled out early on and throughout the season. And also James Conner has the injury bug on his jacket as well. He has not had a complete full season as a starter in his NFL career. So we all know the case and the story about James Conner basically being injury prone. So Trey Benson has the opportunity to get some touches and showcase his talent and be the future of the Arizona Cardinals backfield. Next, I got Keon Coleman. I know everybody nitpicks his play style and everything else, but he's a rookie, man. Give him a chance. But landing with the Buffalo Bills, this is such a great landing spot for him to get with Joe Brady and Josh Allen in this offense. I think more so he will be the X wide receiver, but I don't think he will be just staying put there. They might deploy him all around this offense, moving him around where he could find his spot to get open since he has the trouble of getting separation. And he also doesn't have that elite NFL speed to be a true X wide receiver. So I think the best way to deploy him is to move him around this offense. And I do like this Joe Brady's offense because I'm looking back and I'm always going to reference to 2020 when he was with the Carolina Panthers, where he had three wide receivers, Robbie Chosen, DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel average 14 fantasy points per game. If you're giving me Keon Coleman, if you're giving me that's his ceiling or even his floor, you could sign me up because this dude has a crazy vert. He's probably going to be telling Josh Allen during practice to throw it up higher because he's going to snatch that ball out of the air. He has bully hands, combat hands, a lot of people like to say. There's still some areas where he needs to be polished, but I love this landing spot for him to develop and not have to worry about an alpha wide receiver like Stephon Diggs taking all the targets, taking all the looks, because that kind of hinders and delays the development of younger talent around him if the offense is ran like that. So thankfully, Stephon Diggs is out of the way, and Keon Coleman can be a huge threat to this offense. And I definitely like the pairing with Josh Allen as well, who plays a lot of hero ball, because we know the contestant catch is there for Keon Coleman. Now, for my next winner, it's Malachi Corley going to the Jets. He is a slot wide receiver who calls himself the Yak King, and I know Aaron Rodgers will appreciate that, but he's on the offense now with Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and you also have Breece Hall at running back. And Malachi Corley just slips right into that slot wide receiver role where I think he can see some generating some volume early on. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is returning back from that nasty Achilles injury. We don't know how mobile he will be in this offense. We don't know if he's going to be able to roll out and extend the plays. So I look at Malachi Corley as a security blanket. And I know Aaron Rodgers has this thing where he hates the rookies and it takes some time to build the trust, but I don't think he will have that much of a choice if he's not as mobile in the pocket. I mean, they did upgrade the O-line, but that's still not enough for a guy that's up there in age, and we don't know the full recovery and his ability in the pocket. So I think Malachi Corley can be a reliable slot wide receiver for him. Back in the day, we've seen Randall Cobb be that guy. I'm not saying he could be Randall Cobb, but he could be Randall Cobb. But I love his ability after the catch. And we all know Mike Williams has that injury bug as well, that injury history. So if there's any time where he's out of the way, those targets need to go somewhere. And I think Malachi Corley can be that guy. Now let's talk about the losers. Respectfully, I don't mean any disrespect when I call them losers, but the landing spots do matter here. And I want to talk about Brock Bowers going to the Raiders. I do not like this spot for him. Wasn't quite sure the direction of what they were going with this. It might work out, but it's just that they drafted Michael Mayer last season in the second round, so I'm still a little confused of why they needed a tight end. But Luke Getsy is the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. He did run some 12 personnel where there's two tight ends on the field at the same time, one blocking, one receiving. That may be the case. Brock Bowers does have the ability to block, but I would much rather see Brock Bowers be able to generate some volume to be an actual threat in this offense. But it's already, he gets a little knocked back being that you have Devontae Adams, that is a very elite target share wide receiver. You have Jacoby Myers that generates some targets as well, who is a reliable slot wide receiver, but also could play outside. But I just don't like this potential for Brock Bowers to be a top 5 fantasy tight end that we all thought he could be. And I know a lot of fantasy managers are kind of kicking themselves in the butt just based on this landing spot, taking him so early in those rookie drafts. So for the next loser on this list, respectfully, always, man, this was a huge gut punch to your boy. Marshawn Lloyd going to the Packers. He is now backing up Josh Jacobs, man. And Josh Jacobs is still one of those workhorses left in the NFL right now. Since 2019, Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs are the only two running backs to average 20 touches per game. So there's not a lot of wiggle room right now for Marshawn Lloyd to get on the field to showcase his talent, because he does possess some of the same qualities as Josh Jacobs, being able to be involved in the pass game, great in space, elusive. He has the juke move, put his foot in the ground and juke you out of your socks. Marshawn Lloyd is one of those running backs that I had top 3 going into this draft, and it's so unfortunate to see him go to the Packers and backing up Josh Jacobs. Now, last but certainly not least, but he is a loser on this list, Malik Nabers going to the Giants was such a terrible spot for him to go. I wanted him to go anywhere but there. I'd much rather he go to the Patriots than the Giants, just based on QB play with Daniel Jones. But man, this is such a huge step back on my expectations on Malik Nabers, just based on the landing spot and QB play, man. You got to put that into account, because you look at last season, guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, guys like Drake London, they all generated 100+ targets. They all had a high target share, over 20%, but they each averaged less than 13 fantasy points per game. So that's an area where we need to check ourselves and expectations for Malik Nabers, because it's going to be tough. Now, you're looking at the offense. If you would have told me he was going into the Giants offense last season, where they had a Darren Waller, where they had Saquon Barkley, but they don't. They don't have Saquon Barkley. He's in Philly, and Darren Waller, he fumbled the bag a couple days ago, the most biggest fumble of history. He might be edging to retirement. So he's going into an offense that has Jalen Hyatt, that has a Wan'Dale Robinson, Devin Singletary at running back. In a way, this offense got worse. So I don't really see the expectations being high where he can be an elite wide receiver 1, especially as a rookie with the bad QB play. So QB play matters a ton here, and that's why he ends up a loser on this list. So that wraps up another great episode of Rotoballer Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe, and head to the website. Become a subscriber, man. Get a 10% discount on any premium content when you use the promo code FIRE, F-I-R-E, FIRE content only. Duh. But you guys can follow me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.